Can you just send me the link directly to the webinar, not the Eventbrite?
Okay, everyone. Welcome to the Blockchain Bootcamp with Chainstack. I am Alex Albano, and I'm very happy to have you all here for this, what I hope is going to be a very productive, very energetic, and very interactive session. So we will be together for about 3 hours. It's going to feel very long, hopefully not. It will be very entertaining. If you have questions, if you have any points that you want to make, we do have an open house. So you have a number of ways where you can interact with us, and I will give you more details now over the next few minutes. So just a recap and an explanation of what we are going to do today. We will start with a tutorial with Eugene. Eugene Asif is our Chainstack CTO. He will walk you through blockchain in general, a comparison about with a number of blockchain protocols, and a comparison also with the quality of some features for some permission blockchains over others. It will be a very interesting and packed session. Again, at any point you have questions or comments, do raise your hand and do post them using the Q&A poll or the Gitter channels. After that, we will have, actually the schedule is slightly changed. We will have the Fabric Knowledge session with Jona. Jona is Chainstack Project Manager, and he will tell us a bit more about not just Chainstack, but specifically about how to deploy Fabric using Chainstack. After that, we will have our coffee break. If about 10 minutes, I think that would be enough, but we will be all online. And if you're taking this as a water cooler conversation time, then by all means, let's just do that. After the coffee break, we are coming back together for the hands-on session that will be led by Thomas with the help of Jona, Guillaume, and the rest of the Chainstack team. During this session, we will deploy, we will join our organization, and we will try to use chain code to reach consensus over a decision that we all together will make. So we are quite excited to do this. We have never done this before with such a large audience. And if we are successful, and if most of you will try and be hands-on, as we hope you will, then we will probably be in a position of deploy one of the largest Fabric, Hyperledger Fabric networks to date. So we hope to do this in about an hour. We have a little bit of leeway time, but that's the ambition, that's the program. We will have another very short break. And after that, I'm delighted to have here as a guest, Adam Siena from Aero. He has one of the most interesting use cases that we've found in the entire industry. They've quite recently won the Rolls-Royce hackathon here in Singapore, and they will talk and they present their innovation that brings blockchain to the aviation. So that's quite exciting to see. After the presentation, again, Q&A will come at the end of each session. We will have some time, about 10 minutes for the final quiz. You will probably have seen we have an exciting new certificate that comes out of understanding and learning how to deploy enterprise applications using Chainstack. So that's what we will try to do, but you will have to make a little effort and respond to the quiz that we will present you. So it's 20 questions, and hopefully, during the session, you will get enough knowledge to go through it with ease. In terms of housekeeping and house rules, as I said, it's open house. So you do speak whenever you want, even though it's a webinar, and it's a shame that COVID is forcing us to be so isolated and dispersed all over, but that's also an opportunity to get to know more people that are spread geographically all over the world. Still, it's interactive, so take it really as if we were all in the same room. You can raise your hand using the Zoom function. If you can see, you will have a Q&A where you can just post your question. And there is also the chat. Then we can pick up at any point during the session. The entire Chainstack team is here. So if it's not just me, right away, then we have Ake, Jona, we have Eugene and others within the Chainstack team that will be able to help out. We also have a Gitter channel, dedicated channel. We will post on the chat the link if you haven't been able to see that through the online Eventbrite page. We also have a dedicated one-on-one support once we will start the hands-on session. If you at any point are not sure or get stuck, do ask. We are here to make sure that everyone has a pleasant and enriching experience. As you can see, there were some joining instructions that were shared beforehand with an email that would have reached you yesterday or the day before. If you don't have those instructions, do let us know and we will make sure that you have them. In terms of making sure that everyone can benefit and can spread the knowledge of what we're doing today, which is quite extraordinary, do use social media if you can. Those are, if you can see on screen, those are the hashtags that we will be using and promoting. Occasionally, you will see them also at the bottom of the slides. We are on Twitter at ChainstackHQ. So do use it and let us, help us spread the word of what we're doing all together as a team today. There will be some polls during the webinar. There will be not scored. There is no pressure, but do respond so that we know that you're still there, and that will give us a bit more interactive flavor to it. There will be also a quiz at the end. An important part is a privacy disclaimer. We will be recording the session. So by taking part to the session, you are implicitly giving us consent to do so. We may also be using this recording for the future in some other channels. And also the Singapore Blockchain Week will be using part of this webinar for post-event campaigns. It's also important to note then once we get to the practical part of deploying the nodes within the network, the nodes themselves will be identified with your email. So it's possible that your email will be on screen when Thomas is presenting. And when you are on your console, you will be able to see the emails from the other participants. So you should be okay with that. It's not necessary that you are hands-on, but we strongly, strongly encourage you that you do so. Okay, so if you have not received an invitation from us, they should have come from noreply@chainstack.com. Do let us know and we will send it a fresh one for you. And the joining instructions are also on the email, or you can find them on the Eventbrite page. So without further ado, after we have done all the housekeeping, it's now time for me to introduce the wonderful panelists and speakers for today. We do have Eugene, who will be first right up. He's CTO and co-founder of Chainstack. You will probably have come across his profile. He's coming from a cybersecurity background. He was VP of engineering at Acronis, and he will be presenting in detail what his areas of expertise, which are enterprise blockchain protocols and technical blockchain in general. We have Jona, who is our product manager at Chainstack. He has plenty of experience with a number of products, not just within the blockchain realm. And he will be introducing blockchain applications built on Chainstack. Thomas is our front-end developer, and he will be leading the way throughout the webinar in an interactive way. He has a lot of hands-on and dirty hands with a lot of coding. So he will be able to get a lot of troubleshooting done for you and give you the real facts of what it is like to deploy a node live. There will be some painful bumps. We know that. We have tried it. We've done 2 dry runs. it is very easy to use Chainstack and to deploy. However, we don't know what is going to come up next. And we hope that this session is going to be a discovery and a mutual experience for everyone on finding out what can go wrong, because something definitely will go wrong. But all together, we will be able to solve and to help each other out. And then Adam, I've briefly introduced him from before. He has a lot of knowledge within the aerospace industry. And yeah, that's a kind of incredible, interesting niche, and a lot of applications are popping up in that sector. But they've managed to get Rolls-Royce on board on using the blockchain for their optimization on the engine parts of airplanes. So that's what we will do. Okay, so I want to test the polls. I'm going to launch the first one. So I'm going to give 30 seconds. If you can, do vote. I want to hear as many answers as I can. I can ask you again in 15 minutes, but I promise will not be the same question. Okay, it does sound like we've got almost everyone voting. Let's get to 100%. It's only 70%. Few seconds to go. Probably my vote is not in yet. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, and that's the results. I am absolutely thrilled to see that everyone is very excited to be here. That's cool. So let's get started. So without further ado, Eugene, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alex. Let me share my screen and go to the part that I want to present. Just a brief introduction. I'm CTO of Chainstack, and we have been building Chainstack for last almost 3 years with the team, and we have an amazing team of engineers, product managers, and marketing people who are working hard on bringing the best managed blockchain services in the market. Today, I don't really want to take a lot of your time, guys. We've had 250 people registered, and the bulk of these people are in this event. And I know that you are all in the practical part, and we are really stoked about the practical part, because this is the first time, I think, in the history, anybody is creating a live consortium on the event in real time, and using like decentralized technology. So we already have more than 20 nodes running in our Bootcamp project. And I think there are more nodes coming. Actually, I've just seen a lot of nodes pending in the project. So apparently we'll have even more. So it's totally amazing. And I want to take a little bit of your time to have a brief introduction in the blockchain. For those who are not very familiar with what is this technology about, why would anybody use the blockchain? And also I would like to talk a little bit about the protocols that are available on the market that you can use as developers and as system engineers. And also I want to talk about challenges that people face when they start working on the blockchain. So let's start with a simple question, like, do you really need a blockchain in your solution? And there's a very, very simple quiz that you can take through this to understand whether you need a blockchain or not. It contains a few questions. Basically, you can see them all on the screen. So basically, do you need a database? Do many people need to write to the same database? And do all writers trust each other? So if you have yes, yes, and no on these questions, you might need a blockchain. However, it's not 100% match, and you need to dig deeper. But if you answer differently to these questions, then you might either need a like centralized database like MySQL or PostgreSQL, or some other solution which is not decentralized, which doesn't give you this kind of properties that exist in the blockchain. This is very important because when blockchain technology appeared on the market, it was definitely overhyped a lot, and a lot of people started using it without even understanding why they would use it, because it was really popular at that time. And now, for last year, we actually see a lot of maturity coming to this market, a lot of people using it for a purpose. And we'll hear a real use case after the workshop from Adam, which has an amazing project called Aero, and they're actually doing amazing stuff with the blockchain and with these properties in mind as well. So we also want to give you some like practical ideas on how people are using blockchain without just like doing an ICO or promoting the token, but how they really apply it to the industry problems. So what kind of blockchain you might need in your project if you decided that you actually need all these properties that I mentioned? So you again can answer simple questions like, do you need to control read and write access to this distributed database, and do you require highly efficient transactions? So depending on the answers on these questions, you might either need a public permissionless blockchain like Ethereum, for instance, or Bitcoin, or you might want to have a choice of permission blockchains like Hyperledger Fabric that we're going to use in the practical part of the bootcamp today. So there are a lot of differences of these approaches. So public permissionless protocol give you a lot of like non-centralized properties by default. So basically anybody can join a network built on this protocol. Anybody can read and write on this protocol if they have a certain properties, like if they generated private keys. It can suffer from low official transactions because it's global network. There are a lot of nodes, there are a lot of participants. They do a lot of transactions. But what's most important for permissionless protocols and networks that are built on them is trustlessness. Basically, you don't need to trust those people who onboard on this network, because by default, the network performs in a way that is basically bringing trust by a consensus of nodes that are running in this network. So you don't really need to care about whether you have malicious members in the network or no, because the network itself manages this trust, which is a great property of permissionless protocols. But if you want to have a more, let's say, safe environment, if you want to try your project, or if you want to build a consortium, for instance, and you don't really want anybody to join because, for instance, you're building a network of business entities and they're not necessarily trusting each other. So you want to build a permissions based network when only trusted members can join. You can let them in. You can have a lot of confidentiality features in this network because you can choose who can read write, who can have different permissions. It's much more efficient generally than permissionless protocols because the networks are smaller and there are less transactions happening. And also the downside of permission networks is that you require some level of trust of those people who are actually building the network, who are operating the network, because the consensus in this network exists, which means it's still a decentralized system. But then you need to take care about like who is building the network, how is it designed, who are the members, in order to maintain high level of trust in this network. So we went through this first step of trying to understand how to build a blockchain project. We figured out what is the difference between permissionless, permissioned protocols. We figured out their properties. So now let's move to the protocol part. So what are the protocols that we have in the market today that you can use as a developer? Basically, there are a lot, as you know, of course. We will be focusing primarily on those who have smart contract or like application support. That are the most interesting ones because you can actually build applications as developers on top of these protocols. Recently, we released a blockchain index for enterprise protocols, and it basically talks about the different numbers around developer activity for different enterprise blockchain protocols. You can see them all on the screen. This is a screenshot from our paper that we released earlier this year. I recommend everybody to go through it because it's extremely data-driven. It has a lot of interesting facts about all these protocols, like R3 Corda, Hyperledger Fabric, a couple of other Hyperledger protocols like Bezo and Sawtooth, JP Morgan Quorum. So basically, all the protocols that are used in the market today in the enterprise space, they are mentioned in this report, and you can see a lot of insights like who is committing more to which protocol, like how many developers are working on each protocol, and so on. So it's pretty cool. I recommend everybody to to run through this report. It's quite succinct and interesting. So when you select a protocol for your application, when you want to build something on the blockchain, you might want to consider different configuration options. For instance, what's the consensus? How do participants reach agreement on this network? What's the efficiency like? Do you need like very stringent consensus, like proof of work, for instance, that gives you a lot of security benefits, but it's really, really slow? Like, is the protocol mature enough? Has it been battle tested by the production grade applications? Does it have a lot of backing or not? Or it's like marginally supported by some company? Does it have a community? Like, is it actually adopted by developers? Is there a network where you can join and ask questions about this protocol? Is there a Stack Overflow site for this protocol where you can ask questions? So the next one is basically the plans of development of this protocol. Does it have a roadmap? What are the features that are going to be announced? You should like align with these features if maybe they will be requested by you in the future. For instance, if you want like zero knowledge proofs on a particular for the particular use case, you might want to figure out whether people are willing to add this in the protocol or not. Like, is the protocol well documented? Do you really understand what's written in documentation? If you follow, like, can you actually run the node? Can you actually run an application? And last but not least, like, how complicated it is? Like, can you easily spin up a new network? Can you easily spin up an application on top of this network? What kind of expertise you need? Can you do programming in the languages that you already know, like for instance, Java, JavaScript, right? Or you need to learn a new language, like for instance, is the case for Ethereum when you need to learn Solidity, right? So these are all considerations when you select a protocol for your particular use case. So there are a bunch of protocols, as I mentioned, in the market. They are pretty much different from each other. So there's Hyperledger Fabric that will be our focus today. It's quite flexible. It's totally open source. It has a lot of pluggable elements like consensus and membership management. It has a lot of embedded features that you can configure in a very, very distinct way. There's Quorum, which is built and backed by JP Morgan, which is fork of Ethereum, which makes it compliant with all the Ethereum updates, which you can program with Solidity as well if you're familiar with Solidity. But it enables private transactions, so nodes can send private transactions to each other instead of just broadcasting them to the network. There's Corda, which is also an enterprise protocol built by a consortium of banks called R3. It's very used and very adopted in the financial industry primarily, and it's mostly like a peer-to-peer system. So basically, it doesn't broadcast all the transactions throughout the network. Basically, nodes in this Corda networks are actually talking to each other directly, which makes it much lighter than other blockchains because you don't broadcast all the transactions to the whole network. But at the same time, it limits the level of trust because, let's say, if you lose a node, then you cannot really recover all the transactions on this node if you don't have a backup or if you cannot talk to the same nodes that this node was talking previously. So there are a couple of other protocols like multi-chain and Bezu, which are also based on Bitcoin protocol or Ethereum protocol. And obviously there is Ethereum protocol, which is #1 permissionless protocol, which is public blockchain. And it's very nice to build publicly available applications. For the last few years, the DeFi industry is growing very, very dramatically on Ethereum. So you can do all sorts of things like lending and borrowing on Ethereum blockchain. Anybody can join the network, as I mentioned, since it's public. So it has a lot of smart contract opportunities, but at the same time, since it's public and permissionless, it might suffer from low throughput, but the developer community in Ethereum, they're working hard on bringing the ETH 2.0 specification alive, and it's going to be launched in a few weeks, the first testnet. So we're again very thrilled to see what's the progress on this. Then once you selected the protocol, you can also look into the details of how it works. For instance, we have two protocols for comparison here, Corda versus Ethereum. So for Corda, like the consensus mechanism is reached through the notary, which is a special service in the network. and you can have multiple notaries, and they can reach consensus between each other as well. So it's quite sophisticated technology. While in Ethereum, for instance, nodes are reaching consensus between each other. So everything, including transactional layer, peer-to-peer layer, and consensus layer, is in the node. So it's much simpler design to some extent, but it's not as modular as, for instance, in Corda, when you can choose, okay, I have one notary or multiple notaries. Then, for instance, for scalability, again, in Ethereum, every node exchanges information on every other node. So every node contains a ledger of the whole network. In Corda, it's not the case. You can talk to particular nodes in the network through the notary, and notary will make sure that this communication is consistent. And last but not least, as I mentioned before, you can do private transactions in Corda, for instance, because you can just select nodes who will be talking to each other, which you cannot really do in Ethereum because all transactions are public. So these are some important properties of permission protocols and permissionless protocols by using Corda and Ethereum as example. So now we walked through this protocol options, right? And we understood what are the properties of these options that you need to look into when you select a protocol for your project. And now let's talk a little bit about node deployment, right? Because every blockchain protocol starts with a node running somewhere, because a node is a basic element of the blockchain's basic infrastructure. If you don't have a node, you cannot really do anything on the blockchain because you are not participating on this network, whether it's a public permissionless network, whether it's a consortium network. So in any case, you need some sort of access to this network. It's like you cannot really see internet pages if you're not connected to the internet. So in a sense, it's the same idea, because you cannot really talk to a blockchain network if you don't have a node or if you don't have a connection to a node, right? So these are a few things that you might want to think before you run a node. Like, do you really want to run one node, or you want to run multiple nodes in order to have some resilience? Do you want to run your nodes on premise, on your own laptop, for instance, or on your own server, or you want to run it in the cloud so that it's fully managed, right? This is another aspect of node deployment. Do you want to run a shared node, like a gateway to the network, and you don't bother with running a dedicated node for yourself, or you run a dedicated node if you're a power user, you want high throughput, you want high volume of transactions, then you might want to choose a dedicated option, right? And also very important, geographic location. If you're in Singapore, apparently you want to run the node somewhere in Singapore, right? If you're in US, you want to run a node in US. It's really, really hard to talk to a node from Singapore to US simply because the latency is high. And if your application is having some sort of critical time to respond, for instance, you're building, for instance, an exchange, right? So you really need to respond fast to the queries from your customers. So you might want to have a distributed network of nodes across all regions, right? If you have, it's in the same way you might want to have like Cloudflare, for instance, for your websites, because it basically provides you a distributed network of CDNs where your content is served. So in the same way, you might want to have multiple nodes to serve the blockchain content to your users and to you as developers as well. So we went through these 3 steps. Basically, we talked about permissionless protocols. We talked about particular protocols. And we discussed node deployment. And then again, it's not the end, obviously. You have a lot of things to consider. And these are the consequences that you can see on some projects that haven't considered different protocol options thoroughly, because they can invest a lot of time and resources and money in certain solution based on a protocol, and then they can see that it's not working for them because because it cannot scale, because there are no privacy features that are required, because the deployment is too complicated, etc. So it's just the beginning. I just wanted to give you a slight idea of how people are choosing blockchain protocols and deployment options in this space. A couple of words about the solution that exists today for majority of these problems. There is this concept of managed blockchain services today, which has risen dramatically for the last few years. So basically, managed blockchain services is similar to AWS or a Google Cloud or DigitalOcean if you want. Basically, it provides you an option to run your blockchain nodes and applications in the cloud or in some hybrid infrastructure in a very, very flexible manner, so that you can actually sleep well at night while your node is running and performing the work, while your application is running and serving to your customers. And you don't need to like wake up at 3 a.m. when there is some like ticket created on you that your node cannot sync, or these kind of things. So basically, it's a managed service that provides you ability to run your nodes and applications in the infrastructure of your choice, which reduces the complexity of managing all this. It limits the time to go to market, because you can actually start very quickly. You can deploy nodes, you can run applications on top in an hour, basically, and that's what we will show today as well on our workshop. You don't really need to have a lot of blockchain specific skills, because managed service makes it easy for you to cover all these blockchain specific skills, in the same way that AWS doesn't require you to be a like system administrator, right? So you can just launch your Node.js application on top of AWS, and you don't need to know about like, okay, I want to have a SSD or inserted in my server, and I want this server to be connected to this VLAN, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't really need to be sysadmin. So there are a lot of advantages of managed blockchain services. And who are the typical users of these services are developers, both enterprise developers who are doing solutions within the companies, independent developers who are doing startups, for instance, and who are doing like DApps in the market, as you see, for instance, in Ethereum. And there are obviously partners who are doing projects for their customers, whether they're enterprises or mid-sized businesses who are actually providing blockchain solutions to their customers. And for all of these people, managed blockchain services is a gem, because they can start very quickly, they can build their initial solution very fast, and they can also gradually move to production with the same managed blockchain services platform. So to summarize, basically, what do you look for in a managed blockchain service provider when you're thinking about to start your first blockchain project? Like, which protocols do they support? Can you actually choose between projects to play with different protocols? What are the deployment options that they provide? Can they deploy nodes in Singapore, or can they deploy nodes in Netherlands, or wherever you are located? Can they deploy in the cloud that you also build your application stack in? How much does it cost? Like, is it extremely expensive to run, or is it like pay-per-use, for instance, that you can run a node for 2 days, experiment with it, shut it down, and you don't need to commit to run a node for 1 month? How easy is to set up and build? Like, do you need to spend 20 man days to just set up a network and start building, or you can do it within 1 hour? So these are all considerations while you're looking for a managed blockchain service provider. And you should also be careful while choosing this, because these are very important. That's all for me, folks. Let's move on. Again, we are extremely excited with what comes next, because the practical part is a total blast today. So going back to Alex, thank you.
Okay, so thanks a lot. There was a lot of information that came. I hope everything was well paced. I could see quite a lot of questions coming through. We are as efficient as we can on getting that. If there is anything still pending, do wave our way. We are very keen to do that. So time for the next poll, and we're going to get a little bit more technical here. Another 30 seconds. Do let us know. We are very keen to understand what's our audience, so that we can tailor and get a little bit of more feel for how it's going to be in the more practical part. Whether you have you're a professional developer or not, you have ever done blockchain work before or not, this workshop is for you either way. If you're not doing it hands-on, it's still very introductory, so you will be able to do something. If not, there will be plenty of resources given to you. Okay, let's take a look. it's a 50-50. So that's quite exciting. If this is the first time for you to deploy a node, then welcome to the club. We're very excited to have you here and to get you to run and deploy your first node with us. Okay, so for the next session, we have Jona. Jona will be speaking about our platform, Chainstack, and he will be detailing how to deploy Fabric on Chainstack. So Jona, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Alex. Can everyone see my screen okay? Yes? All right. Great. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction about Chainstack. After that great kind of setup from Eugene, we're going to see how Chainstack can actually support you to deploy your blockchain network, whether it's on Fabric, Corda, Quorum, whether you're deploying in the cloud, on-prem, or what have you. Chainstack is the managed blockchain service that makes it extremely simple to launch and scale decentralized networks and applications, as we just saw. We pride ourselves on our intuitive user interface, which probably a lot of you have seen already if you've already gone through some of the joining instructions of joining our network and setting up our node. And we really try to make it as seamless as possible to orchestrate all of your network resources. And of course, underlying all of it, we have very predictable pricing and generally try to provide a platform that is usable, predictable, and easy to understand for all kinds of developers, while also being very powerful under the hood. As I mentioned, we support a number of different protocols today across a number of different clouds and hosting options. I will just mention, in case you didn't see it in the chat, I noticed that there were a couple of nodes that failed to deploy in our network. All you have to do in this case is just delete your node and try to deploy it again, and you should have success. So Chainstack has been around for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years at this point. We've done a lot of things in that time and really grown our support for different protocols and grown our presence in the industry. And I encourage you to check out our website if you have time as well after the webinar, and you can take a look at some case studies that have been produced in partnership with Google about some of the things that we're trying to do, and also see our place, as we were mentioned in one of the latest blockchain reports by Gartner, as we're highlighted as one of the potential managed blockchain services that are well primed in the industry to take advantage of the current trends in the blockchain space. So ultimately, Chainstack tries to be the most cost-effective and efficient way to deploy, and not just deploy, but also manage and scale your infrastructure in the blockchain world. We focus on providing enterprise-grade software to all of our customers, regardless of what plan you're on. We're optimized for growth, meaning you can start small, you can come in as a developer, deploy one node or a few nodes, and scale up as your project grows and the platform scales with you. We give you the opportunity to choose the right solution, depending on the blockchain protocol and deployment options you're looking for. And again, the flexibility to deploy the solution wherever it needs to be. Chainstack is the single platform that aims to help all developers of all kinds across the blockchain ecosystem manage and deploy their projects. So talking specifically about Fabric, which is what we're here to focus on today, you can of course come into Chainstack today and deploy your own Fabric network running on the latest version. We were the first managed service to support Fabric version 2, which was released just a few months ago. And we were at the Hyperledger Global Forum in Phoenix earlier this year as well to announce the launch of that to the public. All of our nodes are deployed into, well, a network that we deploy includes by default an initial channel. We handle all of the network orchestration for you, so you just need to be responsible for adding resources into this network, and Chainstack manages the channel management and so on. We have a wrapped ordering service included in every network that's included in the cost of deploying your first node, so you don't have to worry about this, and soon we'll have a lot of additional features for you to be able to add more configuration and more customizability of your networks. We also deploy an instance of the Hyperledger Explorer with every network that allows you to explore the blocks and the different participants in more detail. And we have a few additional features that we've worked on since our release, such as exposing node logs and other things like this for our customers to make the development experience on Chainstack even better. So just taking a quick look at where we are with Fabric and what we're planning to do from today onwards. As I mentioned, we have Fabric 2.2 on Chainstack today. You can create a consortium network, and this supports multiple organizations with unlimited nodes. So that's something that we're really going to be testing today, as we have a network running with, I think at this point, over 20 different organizations who are all deploying their own node. These nodes are self-healing, auto-scaling. So as I mentioned, as your project scales and as the requirements of your network grow and the transactions taking place on your network grow, Chainstack scales with you, and you pay really for what you use on our systems. You can deploy multi-cloud and multi-region networks right out of the box. So again, if you take a look at the network that we are working with today, we have people deployed across AWS and GCP in the US and Singapore, and we'll be adding more regions and deployment options soon. With the next one coming up will be Azure, and also opening up to our more, our European customers as well. And finally, we have both the Node Explorer and Log Viewer, as I mentioned, built in straight away. Looking beyond today, we have quite a strong commitment to Fabric and to build out our feature set even more. There's obviously a lot that you can do, and Fabric is a very complex protocol with a lot of complex capabilities. We'll be releasing soon an API for network and node orchestration, which means that everything that you can do today in the platform will be available for you to build applications on top of and connect through an API. And in this way, you can have your own applications, your own deployment services that are really powered by like the Chainstack engine underneath, which helps you to very quickly deploy networks, deploy nodes, and do all of the kind of orchestration capabilities that you can do in the platform via API. We'll be bringing out a marketplace for applications as well soon. So if you're building anything with Fabric that you're interested in promoting and getting out into the world, we'll be having a marketplace of one-click applications that can be installed straight away into a Chainstack network or node. And then, of course, things like multi-order RAF clusters, external CA services, and HSM integration as well. These are all things that are on our roadmap in the near future and beyond. We're excited to have so many people trying out the platform today, and we'd love to hear back from you as well as you have time to explore this on your own and in your own time in terms of the kinds of capabilities that are interesting for you. We obviously work with a lot of our partners to support their customized needs on a one-off basis, particularly on our business and enterprise tiers. We have a lot of custom deployments that aren't necessarily available in the do-it-yourself aspect of the platform today. So we're interested to hear from you what you're looking for and help shape the direction of the platform, because we try to be really developer-focused and developer-first in terms of what we build. So let's talk about the workshop and what we're going to accomplish today. There's really four things. And one is that we want to build a consortium. And this alone is not an easy thing to do. It typically can take larger organizations and larger consortiums months of planning to get set up in a way that everyone agrees to the terms of the consortium and can then come and start deploying their infrastructure, which is a whole nother ballgame altogether. As you can see, we already have a Fabric network of distributed peers. And if you take a look, if you've managed to sign up and deploy your node into our network, you can see that there's already a large number of people in different organizations that are operating there today. From there, we'll all deploy a web app. Each organization will host and deploy their own web app, so they have full control over this, and it will connect to their own peer. And via this peer, you'll have access to the network. And from there, what we'll show is how we can commit a chain code to the channel that we're all running on, assuming that the majority of us here today agree to commit this freedom dividend chain code to the channel. So just a quick mention about what this chain code is. It was developed in-house by our developers here at Chainstack as a sort of example application, and you can take a look in our docs site. There's a full tutorial about how it's built and how you could get it up and running on your own network. But essentially, it's an interesting use case of how we could have a universal basic income system that is managed across a distributed network. In this case, you can imagine everyone on this network is representative of a government body, let's say, that would be responsible for onboarding individuals within their jurisdiction onto this network. And if you, as if this governing body opts in an individual onto the Freedom Dividend network, then they would be distributing some funds. They would be receiving some funds at a given time throughout. So it's an interesting project, and let's see if we can agree to the terms of this chain code and get it up and running on our network so that we can actually have a play around with the application. And that's obviously step 4, where we'll actually be running this chain code. It will be fully distributed across, running in peers around the world in different cloud environments, and hopefully we'll have a successful demonstration by the end and have all come together to sort of build something together. So with that, I will pass back to Alex, and we'll have probably one more poll before we take a break and jump into the, no, I think the break is now. Is that right, Alex? Over to you.
I think we're supposed to have a coffee break, but quite honestly, I think the atmosphere is just getting warmed up. And I wonder whether we should just cut the break a little bit shorter and just make it for 5 minutes. Maybe this is the time, if you haven't set it up, that you can just do that. So let's take a break for just 5 minutes. I can see that on the chat, people are keen for the 5 minute only. So it is now 14:48. So from now into 5 minutes, we will restart with the workshop session. In this time, do reach out if you had any issue at all with setting up your node or opening up the account, anything at all. We're here, and as you can see, it's quite interactive. We are picking up the questions as you're working along. I just, throwing out there also the suggestions. If you want to raise hand, we're also happy for you to have the, the speaker on and to have an actual questions to be thrown at us at some point. It's absolutely okay. We really want for this to be as close to a one-on-one experience as possible. So I would say, let's take it 5 minutes. Any question that you have in the meantime, just reach us out and we will reconvene at 3:03. That's a good number to come back for the next session. Okay. In reality, we are still here, so it's a small break. I'm just gonna get quite chatty. I tend to do quite a lot with the team because I tend to be quite curious. Jona, I know that many people have already deployed in these 2 days prior to the webinar today. Can you give us a bit of more information about how many are already there? And if you've seen any issues beforehand? I know that some people who were trying to deploy with Linux might have had some issues, but we've troubleshooted that beforehand. So maybe you can preempt if there are any issues before.
Yeah, I think we also posted the link to our Gitter channel. So there's a few Chainstack engineers that are sitting in there. I'll just share it in the chat right now. If you have any issues getting set up, then you can go to this link and get going from there. Also, I think Alex mentioned 3:03. I think we'll probably
3:05. That's right. You got it. Yeah.
I'm not sure if your clock is running fast or something, but I think 5 minutes would be 2:55. So we'll get back at 2:55.
Okay.
Yeah, and looking at the network now, if I can just take a look, seems that we have 31 nodes running. There are a couple failed deployments, as I mentioned. Please do just remove these and try again. It sometimes happens, and especially the scale that we're at now, it should resolve the issue.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of, in general, with Chainstack. The team is very responsive, and we have a very fast turnaround. If you decide sometimes in the future to deploy, or if you have already a POC or ready for deployment, and you wish to try out and use Chainstack, our response time is lightning speed, almost as fast as what is our deployment speed. we really want for our customers to get support, quickly. And the team is very enthusiastic. All of the engineers here do generally care about everyone individually. I can see a few questions on the chat. I think we have responded to almost all of them. There is a question from Kamal. It says, it's been more than 15 minutes since my node is in pending state in Chainstack console. It's neither running nor failed. Could you please help? Maybe Jona or Thomas? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll investigate this node now to see what's happening with it.
Okay. So how, Ghazi, are you finding the session so far? Is the pace reasonable? Is there any area that you would like us to cover in the rest of the webinar? Anything that sparked your interest? Any specific questions for either Eugene or Jona so far? I was seeing interesting questions about interoperability and how Chainstack could support that. And I've seen also a couple of questions with regards to our ability to cater for specific protocols. We actually have a pipeline of new protocols that are coming up. It would actually be interesting to hear from you, from everyone in the audience, if there is any specific protocol that you think we should actually add to our portfolio. Just now we have covered the basics. We have all the major private and public blockchains, but the landscape is so rich. So we're really spoiled for choice as what comes next. And yeah, we are listening to the community and hear what you would like to see. That's always a good point for us to see. Okay, there's an interesting question on Besu. Eugene, what do you think about Besu?
We really like Besu, and I think it's a very well-designed implementation of Ethereum for enterprises. We are following all the major protocols that are used by developers. Obviously, Besu is in our pipeline. However, we don't have particular dates when we're going to support Besu. As an alternative, we suggest using Quorum, which is also an Ethereum-based implementation for enterprise space, and you can start from it. We always support the latest version. We always do the upgrades, maintenance for you. So if you want to try enterprise Ethereum, we suggest starting with the Quorum on Chainstack. If you have a particular interest for Besu, if you want to use it in your project, we will be happy to talk to you about your use case, about how you plan to use, what's the size of the network, and so on. So feel free to reach out to us using the contacts Alex will share at the end of the event. Or you can reach out to me in chat here or in Gitter as well. Feel free to reach out in any channel. We are very open.
Cool. Awesome. So I think we've hit the 2:55 mark. We can crunch our knuckles, get ready to code, get ready to build. I will let the floor to Thomas with the help of Jona and Guillaume on to the next step where we are actually going to guide coding. Thomas, floor is all yours.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, guys. Can everybody hear me?
All good.
Okay, so let's start coding. I'm going to share my screen first. So one moment to set this up. So I will do the whole flow from the beginning. If I'm too fast, please use the chat to let the guys know that I'm too fast, and they will tell me to slow down. Or if you need help and you're stuck somewhere, again, just use the chat and somebody will attend to you. We have very professional and helpful engineers right here waiting to help you. So keep them busy. And halfway through through my talk, Jona and Guillaume will also join in to make this event more like a podcast. So we are like a radio DJs in the room teaching you how to code. So first step first, can you guys access this URL to go to this repo? I need you to download it. So I'm gonna do it. If you haven't done so, can you please do it? Let me open my terminal. Okay, I'm gonna download my the repo into a folder in the Bootcamp on my desktop like this. Is everybody following? If you are not, use the chat and somebody will attend to you. Sorry, my I key is not functioning sometimes. This is a problem with the butterfly keyboard of Mac. Yeah, so I strongly recommend you not to use the old version of the MacBook. If you have an option, go and do it. Okay, so I've opened my the repo on my editor. So I like to use Sublime Text. You can use VS Code, anything you like. So you should be on the same step as me for the guys that haven't already done so. Again, if you are not following, please let us know on the chat and someone will attend to you. The next step.
Thomas, I've just dropped the link to the repo in the chat. Maybe let's give just 1 minute for everyone to clone it and get their ID set up.
Okay, so I'll take this opportunity to mention to you guys that Chainstack is actually offering something really awesome. We are giving away growth plan for free for up to 3 months to the participants that actually participate in this bootcamp. So what does that mean? What does growth plan actually mean? Jona, you want to talk about it?
Sure. So actually, growth plan is something that we introduced recently, and what it does is from our initial developer plan, it provides a little bit of extra functionality to help people get up and running beyond just one single node that's available on the developer plan. So you can run 3 different nodes, which gives you the opportunity to have a network running in a consortium, or also if you're interested in working on Ethereum or so, you can also have a couple different nodes running across test nets and so on. We open up a few other features that make the platform more powerful and capable for you and for more interesting for developers. And it's quite a nice and still affordable entry point for people to level up their deployments with Chainstack.
Okay, thank you, Jona. So basically, what you need to know is for growth plan, you can deploy for more than up to 1 nodes. So the participants on this network currently, when you try to deploy a new node, you will see that you reach your limit. So by upgrading to growth plan, you can deploy up to 3 nodes, which is pretty awesome if you want to do more advanced testing. So let's go back to the bootcamp. Next step, I'm going to set up my repo. To do so, I'm going to download the binaries for Fabric first. So how this works is that I run a command on my terminal, which will execute this script. This script will take the Fabric binary from this link right here, GitHub, and I will download it to my current folder right here. So let's try it. And if you are a Linux user, not a Mac OS user, make sure to prefix Linux. I'll show you what that means. So to run the script, you just type this on the terminal. And if you are using Linux, type Linux behind like that. So right now I'm using Mac, so I'll just run this command like this.
The command is in the chat as well for anyone who wants to copy paste. And of course, all these instructions are also in the repo that I posted before. So if you get lost at any point, all of the commands and everything that Thomas is doing will be in there. So feel free to refer to that.
Right, so give it a while. It's downloading. It's very big files. So after it's finished download, you should see some of the the folder names or the different binaries that's available from this fabric. So, so let's go back to the interface on the network page right here. Chainstack actually does the heavy lifting on deploying your nodes and your networks, that you don't see the very complicated things. If you try to follow the Fabric tutorial on the Fabric documentation site, you can see a lot of very messy or hard to read things. I mean, try to follow their tutorial. You have to be really really careful, really advanced to understand what's going on. On Chainstack, if you deploy your network like this and you click on the details, and you should see what you need, which is on right here, you can see the orderal details. We have the orderer name, the orderal RPC endpoint, and you can also directly download the certs and the connection profile, which is very convenient. If you want to do testing, you want to try to develop your own mini pet project or anything you want. So looking at the terminal, you can see that I have finished downloaded the Fabric binaries. So you should see something like this on your terminal. Yeah, if you see something like this, it means that it's been downloaded properly. So I will continue to set up my front end. So I will do this. And right here, I will run the npm install function. So make sure you're using Node version 12 and above for this bootcamp. If you're using anything less than this, you might encounter some issues with the Node.js commands. Yep, so it's running at the meantime.
Thomas, we have a question. What about Windows?
Now, that is a very, very good question. I'll share the floor to Guillaume to answer this question.
So, yeah, all these binaries, so this script has been made only for Mac and Linux. So if you on Windows, for this bootcamp, you need to use a VM if you want to put this bootcamp.
Yeah. So basically, the commands that are executed using the scripts are for Bash, and Windows are not that smooth with Bash. Yeah. So.
So unfortunately, the answer is we did not have enough time to support all platforms for this bootcamp. So if you have access to a VM or something where you can run a Linux machine or something, please do that. Otherwise, feel free to just follow along and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. So I've just done installing the node modules for the client. Next, I will build it. Just run this npm run build function command on the terminal, and this will build the front end that we'll be using in a little bit. So you should see something like this on your terminal. If you don't, again, use the chat, and our very professional and bored help desk, our professional engineers will be there to assist you. Yeah. So keep them busy. Don't be shy. If you have questions, just ask them. All right, I've done building my client. Now I'm gonna go to build my backend. So navigate to the web app/server folder, and again, npm install.
Is everyone okay with the pace? Do we need to take a little break, or can we go ahead? If you need a little bit of more time, do let us know, huh?
Okay, this will take a while. Okay, I've done building my, installing my node modules on my backend. How about you guys? Wow, everybody has already installed and followed up to pace. That is awesome.
But someone is asking to please give 5 minutes.
Okay.
So
sure. Let's give.
Yeah, again, we are a chatty bunch, so I don't think that 5 minutes is going to be much of a problem. You know what? I could just launch another poll.
Yeah.
Let's get on something a bit more
Harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna hit everyone with a chain code question. So for a chain code to become active on a channel, the majority of the organizations must approve it. That seems an easy one. I thought it was a hard one. I think our audience is much more qualified than we think it is. We can really push it. Okay, let's have a look. There you go. I think the majority, 90%, says it's true. So, Jona, what's the verdict? I think that's an easy true, right?
Okay, I just want to make a quick note about we have a couple of I think 2 or 3 failed deployments in the network. The team is investigating them to see what's happening there. So again, I think we have about 30, 40 nodes or so that are running at one time, and we're doing our best to investigate these and see what the issue is. So just hold tight for now. Thank you.
So
and I guess.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Nope. I was going to say we can probably go ahead if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thomas, you can take back the share probably.
Okay. So before going, giving some participants more time, I can go through the steps that is actually involved in today's workshop. So first is to set up the web app environment, and then we will set up the web app. And then together we will install the chain code, and then we'll try to approve them. And then we will commit the chain code, interact with the chain code, and also commit the chain code flow. So I'll go through the theory on what's going to happen. And then after this, we can do it together. So we save some time going through this later. So how do I go back? Sorry. So today's bootcamp is surrounding the topic of freedom dividend. Sorry, not very familiar with PowerPoint slides. I'm a developer. But anyway, today's topic is surrounding the idea of freedom dividend. If you're not sure what it is, it's actually a policy that is proposed by Andrew Yang on the 2020 US election. He actually proposed the idea of everybody getting universal basic income every month, which means free money from the government every month, even if you don't do anything, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. Yeah, so the infrastructure diagram for this project will look something like that. Everybody will, the different state office will spin up a polling station, and together they will be on the same network. So the peer now that you are deploying on our network, you're actually representing a different polling station. You could be in California, you could be in New York, or even Texas, so etc. So this is a legit project that we are building here today. So continue on. How to set up a web app environment using the web app that we built is that you have to retrieve these 3 things from this interface, which is the network details. First, you have to retrieve the orderer name, which is this one over here. And then you have to export both these certificates. And then go into your own node. You have to retrieve the peer name, the MSP ID, and also export the organization identity. We'll go through them later, but this is just the steps that we're going to do today. And then we're gonna set up this, which we've already done. Next, when you go to your local host at port 4000, you should see this interface. I'll talk about it later. And right here, we will install the chain code. And next, oh, hold time. That's just a, oh, I'm sorry. That's just the slide. Anyway, next we will approve the chain code. And then, yep, and then interact with the chain code. So let's do that now. I hope the participants have enough time to set up their client and backend. The next step right now is we're gonna set up the env file. So you just have to go to, oh, I'm on the wrong folder.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I used the wrong repo. My bad. Oh, this is so embarrassing.
It happens to the best of us, Thomas.
Yeah. So now you have to wait for me.
So Jona, you.
Sorry. So
No,
why?
sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Alex
Thomas.
will probably keep you busy.
They're going to love all the polls that I'm going to shoot now. But Jona, before we go ahead, you mentioned that there is like a timeline for all the steps that we're going to take. Maybe you can screen share again that part and explain where we are and where we are with the progress of deploying.
Sure, I can do that quickly. So yeah, as you can see here, we have, at this point, we should have, well, first of all, cloned the repo and then set up our web app environment, well, the server and the client, essentially. And we're at the stage now where we're about at step 3. We're going to start downloading the relevant certs so that we can actually run the application and install the chain code. So we have a little bit of configuration to do first in the application. So hopefully everyone is following along well.
That's awesome. And that's the thing about light demo. You can see all the bumps. And I think everyone can relate to just doing that. So I wonder if perhaps Eugene can give us a bit of more insight on what it is like to have designed Chainstack. What was the prompt to be starting it to begin with? And what are the main, like the core reasons why Chainstack is built the way it is?
Sure. I'm finishing with my support assistant in Gitter, and we'll be answering very soon. Yeah, actually, when we started building Chainstack, we tried to solve our own problem. We were building a solution on top of Ethereum, and it was around like 4.5 years ago already, so it was quite a long time ago. And the idea was to do a simple blockchain-based timestamping solution, so that let's say you have some object and you want to make sure that this object existed at the same time, and you want to also like keep the timestamp. So for instance, if I own a file, I want to say, okay, I own the file in year 2015 in January, and I can show this proof to anyone, right? So that if anybody asks me, let's say I have an audit firm in my company, for instance, and they're asking me about my documents, I can always share with them this proof. So they are happy that these documents are authentic and they existed at this time. And we actually hit a big problem with infrastructure at the time. So basically, we had to run a couple of Ethereum nodes. And by that time, there were sort of parity between two clients, which was called Go Ethereum, Get, and Parity. And we had to run them both. And we had to figure out how they work both, because none of them was stable at the time. And we actually spent much more time on the operations of blockchain nodes rather than building the actual application. So we decided that, okay, we need to solve this problem for ourselves. And that's why we started building Chainstack to simplify node operation, infrastructure operation for builders in blockchain space.
Yeah, and I think that's something that it would be useful for the booming economy that will be built on top of blockchain applications and decentralized applications as the economy of such application grows. I hear that Thomas is ready and can kick back in.
Sorry,
That's
guys,
good.
my bad. Yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah.
You can send chocolate to everyone in the room.
I'll write a personal note.
We have around 70 people in the room.
Yeah, I'll write personal hand note to everybody.
Okay.
So everybody, please go to this .env file in the server directory. Right here, we're gonna replace some of these values with the one from Chainstack. So to begin off, we will take the order name from this network details screen. So just click on this details button, and you see the order name here. Click on this copy button. When you hover over the order name, you should see it appear. So copy it and then paste it over this like this. And then also here we need to export these two files. So just click on them like that. Yep. So next we need to go to our nodes. And in here, you should only be able to access your own node credentials. Yep. So right here, I will take the MSP ID. Everybody should have a different MSP ID. I will replace it here in my env file. And I'll take my peer name and also replace it here like this. Right here, we need to download our organization identity. There seems to be a problem with my own internet connection.
So Thomas, once we've downloaded the files, what should we do with them?
You have to uncompress, you have to unzip it. Let's take a look. Okay. So ideally, let me run through some codes to explain how the web app actually works with Fabric. So those of you that are familiar with building your own server, be it Python, Java, C#, or for my case, Node.js, usually for normal web infrastructure, you would use your server to communicate with the database. But for this case, in a blockchain scenario, you don't really use the database, you actually use the blockchain. So for Hyperledger Fabric, you you use a bash script to communicate with your Fabric peer. So if you go to the repo and right here in the API index file, you can see that I have a few different API endpoints. And each of these endpoint actually runs an execute command, and this execute command actually calls the bash script. So let's look at it, how it looks like. So these are the different bash command that we execute from the API endpoint. And from this execution, we actually communicate with the network through our peer. Yep. So let me try and download my skills again. There are some issues downloading some documents, and our engineers are on it. So please be patient. Wow, we have 13 nodes. Yeah, Jona, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone who's managed to deploy a node into the network basically now represents a organization within this network. You can go through and take a look at everyone who's kind of part of this consortium, all of the different members that are participating. You can click on each node in the network, and actually we don't expose any of the sensitive information. So you can still see some details, sort of like the MSP ID and the name of this peer for every node on this network. But if you click on your own, of course, there's a little bit of extra insights that are given. So, you know, the admin identity, you can actually export all of the credentials that would be required to interact with this node. If you're on also the appropriate plan, you would be able to view the node logs and such. So in this way, you have full visibility into the structure of the network, and you also have full control over your node explicitly in the network as well.
Okay, so the engineer that's working on this is sitting right beside me. This very cool French guy. So according to him, we have really tested the system. Apparently, it's not normal for a consortium to have more than 30 nodes. And today, you guys, together with me, we have really pushed the boundaries. So it is actually good to know that there is a limit, and I'm sure in a few days we will increase and cater to that need. So in the blockchain space, apparently there isn't really much use case for 30 nodes at the moment, but I'm sure this will be fixed. Maybe Eugene, you can comment on it.
Well, guys, again, this is really exciting event for us because we're testing it live. So we are testing it with multi-org setup as well for the first time in this kind of size with the latest Fabric version. So we see that there are a couple of technical issues for the participants, but again, we are resolving them. You can check in our Git chat, and if you experience any issues, just type there, and we'll be happy to fix them.
Okay, seems like it's back to normal. Let's go through again, downloading the different files that you need for the web app. So right here, from your own node, can you try and download this organization identity folder? It should look like this, a zip folder. Let's give it some time. Yep. And also on your network, export the connection profile. Oh, yep, you should have this. Has anybody downloaded it? I think the internet, Zoom is taking up too much of my network.
Yes, it worked for me. I've got all the files.
Yeah. Jona, can you show them the steps next while I figure out my internet issue?
Sure, no problem. I will take over 1 second. All right, so once you've downloaded the files, you should have 3 things. 1 is the connection profile. 2 is the certificate for the order TLS cert, and also your unzipped MSP for your organization. And what we need to do is within the web app directory of our application, we're going to create a new folder called certs, and you want to drop these 3 things within here. And basically, our application is going to refer to this folder in order to do all sorts of actions that would require approval from an admin user or to understand the configuration of the network. We're basically putting all of the relevant documentation that's specific to our node and specific to this network so that the application will automatically connect to the right place and have all the appropriate information to create its wallets and connect to a gateway and so on. So hopefully everyone can just take a couple minutes to get that set up, and once we're good to go with that, then we can actually run the application and get moving. Thomas, did you manage to get that set up?
Yeah, I did. Let me share my screen. Just one moment. Hi guys. Again. So you should have these 3 things on your downloaded from the Chainstack platform. So what you want to do is move them into your GitHub repo that you've downloaded. In this case, it's the Fabric Bootcamp chain code. In the web app, I've created a folder called certs. So can you do the same right here? There's new folder, certs, and then move it into the web app folder like this, right? And from here, just move the files they've downloaded into the certs folder. So like Jona mentioned, this is how the web app, or these are the resource the web app will use to talk to the peer. Yep. So once you do that, looking at your certs folder on your text editor, you should see something like this. If you don't see this, again, just use the chat and someone will attend to you, right? So these are actually used for the web app or to authenticate a web app using the certs to communicate with the peer. So let's try next to spin up the server. Just on your terminal. In the web app server directory, just npm run start. Like this. And now it will show something like that. And it means that the server has been spin up. So if you go to localhost 4000, this right here, you should see this interface. Does everybody see this? It would be awesome if you just type a yes. Wow, nice. Thank you for writing yes.
So if you're encountering any issues at this point, probably most likely use case is that your certificate certs folder is not correct, or your .env file is not has not been updated correctly. So just double check your .env, that you have your MSP ID entered, the order name and the peer name all set up, and you've saved the file. And your certs folder should be, again, within the web app directory. Yeah. Any other tips you can have in case anyone's having some issues there, Thomas?
I think you covered everything that might be the case.
Or I guess last case would be to build everything again and start the server, right, and the application again.
Yep. So anyway, to talk a little bit about the Fabric channel details, like I mentioned earlier, how we actually talk to the network is through the Fabric binaries that we downloaded right at the start of the bootcamp by running the bash script file. And in it, we actually have this thing called the discover and the peer. These are the two things, or the two binary that we use in the web app today. So using the discover, we can retrieve the channel config. In this case, are the different MSP IDs of the other organizations that are currently, which are you guys, yeah. So these are like your public key for your organization. And then on the channel peers are the different peers that has been deployed. Why are they separated? Is because one organization can have more than one peer. So by using the peer command, we can actually retrieve all the peers instead of just the peer of the organization. So what we're gonna do next, also notice on the top left-hand corner, you actually see this, this RG837380. This is my MSP ID. So everybody should see a different MSP ID. Yeah. So I'm gonna install the chain code now by clicking on this button. What this do is it will install the Freedom Dividend chain code that that is pre-created in the repo right here. Yeah, I will talk about the chain code after I click on the button. So just click on it, and the server will run, the Node.js server will run through the steps of packaging the contract and then installing it onto the network. And from there, once it's installed, we will retrieve it and show it on the front end. So talk a little bit on the contract. This is the contract. It's written in JavaScript. So it consists of three functions: the opt-in function, the opt-out function, and the query SSM function. So in the context of Freedom Dividend, it's actually to support polling US citizens, you know, like, do I want to opt in to this policy? If I want to, I have to go to the polling station and then give them my social security number and also a value. Probably, yes, I want to opt in. And then it also allows you to opt out of this policy. So what it does is that it will delete the user security social security number, and then also you can query by giving in the social security number. You can retrieve the value that is entered. So it's a very basic chain code. It's like a hello world with a little bit of story. It'll help you when you want to try and learn Fabric. This is a good tool. Let's see if it's installed. Okay, so right here on the interface, you should see installed chain codes. If you see it, can you please type yes in the channel, in the chat? It'll be awesome if you do. Wow, awesome. Thanks for the support, guys. Let's try and hit 10 yes. Well, we have 7 now. We just need 3 more. No? Yeah. Okay, so right here to talk a little bit about this. Now, this is really exciting because in Fabric version 2, we actually, it introduces the new peer lifecycle, change code lifecycle. In the past, in version 1, any participant can just install a new chain code without having anybody else approve. It's like I can implement new law and it will just work. So now they introduce this new lifecycle, which means installing new chain codes will actually require the majority of the participants approve it. So right now we are on the phase that we installed the new chain code, and we need other members of the network to also approve it before we can commit the chain code. So on this interface, if you agree to install that new chain code onto the network, can you click on this blue tick right here? So by clicking on this blue tick, you approve the chain code, and let's see what happens when I click on it. You just give it a while, and my peer will tell the network that, hey, RG837380 has approved the chain code. So if you look at the list, looking at 837. Yeah, right here. This is me. I have approved it. So, and there are a few other people that already approved it. Wow, that is really fast, guys. So to commit the chain code, we need more than half of the participants approve this. So I'm not sure if we have half, but we can try to commit it. If we have less than half, it will throw an endorsement policy failure error, which means that we don't have more than half of the people approving this chain code. So let's see. Well, yeah, this just shows that we need more people to commit to to approve the chain code. So if you haven't do so, can you please commit to the chain code? Approve the chain code. Yeah.
Of course, you will want to approve on the universal universal income, basic income. I don't see how we should disagree on that, but that's also possible. So if you disagree on principle, do let us know. If you disagree for technical reasons, that's also something that we would want to know.
Okay, I'm gonna try it one more time. I hope more people have approved it.
We need 15. We need 3 more.
Oh, we need 3 more. Okay, so my super cool engineer, Guillaume, just counted. He says we need 3 more.
Yeah, and some are asking, I have to say, we are not taken for ransom. They're asking for chocolate for approval. But I think we can arrange that. That's okay.
Oh, wow, I feel blackmailed.
So if anyone has any issues and is trying to arrive at this point and needs some support, do let us know. We'll be happy to smooth the process so that we can all get our universal basic income.
We need 1 more?
Yeah, we do have time, guys. There is no...
I have no more.
No rush. And we do have chocolate.
Wow. We need 3 more. Yeah, so you guys can see like how blockchain really works now. We have to go around begging other participants to approve the chain code. We don't have superpower to override this. Once you set the endorsement policy to majority in this case, then it really means we need majority approval. Not because this is a bootcamp and we can use some special settings and manually hard approve this chain code. It doesn't work. We really need more than half of you to including myself to approve the chain code in order to commit it. So please approve the chain code.
We're just doing some support in the chat. There'll be a few people hopefully in the next couple minutes who will be able to help. We're also, of course, at the mercy of people who might have joined their node and actually haven't joined the webinar, so they're holding us a little bit hostage if they didn't attend. But hopefully we can make up for it in numbers.
Okay.
Also to mention, this is a good opportunity to talk about this is actually a new feature as of Fabric 2, which, as I mentioned, was only released a few months ago. Previously, anyone was able to install chain code on their peer and instantiate that chain code onto the network. But with one of the recent sort of major updates to Fabric in version 2 was the idea of endorsement policies on chain code, meaning that, as we're seeing here, there's a policy on the network as to who needs to approve any changes to chain code or invocations of chain code on the channel before they can take place. So it's actually a quite interesting way to demonstrate this new feature that came out as well. Thomas, could you quickly show for some people again which files exactly we download and where we put the certs folder? That seems to be the main question right now.
Okay, sure. So please follow me. So in the beginning, I'll go in. Just click on the Chainstack logo on the top left-hand corner. You go to the main page, access this project called Universal Basic Income. And from here, go into the Freedom Dividend Network. And right here, click on the details. And from here, you export both of these files, the orderer TLS certificate and the connection profile. So by clicking on them, you download these two files. Yep. And also click on the copy button beside the orderer name. Right. This is
I think just the certs. I think just the certs is okay.
Oh, just the certs. Okay, my bad. Yeah. So next, go to your own node, which is for me is node 1. Yep. And then just click on the export button beside the organization identity, like this. And then once you've done with that, just you should see something like this in your downloads folder. Let me just clean up a little bit. And then you want to unzip your organization identities. So take these 3 folders and these 3 files and folder, and then move it into the repo that you've cloned earlier today, which in this case, for me, is the Fabric Bootcamp chain code. Go into the web app, create a certs folder, and then move these 3 files into the certs. Yeah, does that help you, Sanket?
Yeah, so the certs folder you have to actually create yourself since we're not able to upload an empty directory to GitHub.
Yep.
So create the certs folder in web app and drop those 3 items into there.
Yeah, so do we have more approval right now? Guillaume, have you done the latest count? Yeah. So guys, in case you're not aware, what is happening today is really cool, because I don't think you can find another 29 participants to deploy the same the same consortium like we are doing right now today. Still the same. So yeah, we need more approvals.
Or more chocolate.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, while we wait for the troubleshooting to happen and for people to join in and approve, I have a hard poll. I want to join, and I want also the panelists, those that are not busy supporting the attendees, to try and answer this one. And I think it's going to spark a nice conversation. So a chain code can invoke another chain code in the same channel. True or false? A few more seconds to go. Another 10 seconds. Okay. Let's show the result and then let me know what you think about the results. So we have true 69% and false 31%.
One more. We have one more.
So what was the right answer? I am not a developer. I have
for any application that you're doing in there, and you can basically take any business logic and separate in as many chain codes as you want. That's similar to what Ethereum has with smart contracts, but also it's one of the highly modular things that Hyperledger Fabric has. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, so that was true.
True.
True. That's the verdict. Awesome. So Guillaume, I missed the update. We had one more joiner, right?
More approval.
Approval. Yeah.
A generous guy that doesn't require chocolate to approve the chain code.
Okay. You don't know the backend deal that I'm doing here.
So guys,
Lots of-
really, it's a very clean and simple chain code. It doesn't threaten any security of operation on the network.
Someone left, so one more.
Oh, so according to Guillaume, the super cool engineer, someone just left, and we just need one more approval, and we can commit the chain code. Yeah, so you guys saw Egg talking just now. Egg is actually the guy that wrote most of the tutorials you see on our chain code website. He's really well versed with all the protocols that we support. Egg, you want to share a little bit?
Well, I'm super excited about Hyperledger Fabric and the thing we're doing now, and I don't know, like all of the protocols that we support on Chainstack. It's really cool to explore them all, and if you guys really want to pick a protocol or like experiment with it, Chainstack is super easy. For me personally, I found that DigitalOcean plus Chainstack worked best for me. And if you really want to go through a tutorial and just, you know, get a feeling of what it's like to develop on Corda, Hyperledger Fabric, or like Ethereum or Quorum or multi-chain or whatever, we have a tutorial for each of the protocols, and you can go through there. And if you want to use a clean machine like DigitalOcean, for example, deploy a Linux image in there and interact with Chainstack, it's not even gonna cost you a lot. Like DigitalOcean, to go through a tutorial is gonna cost you $1, maybe $2. Then you can shut it down. And Chainstack has free and growth developer plans. That's the experimenting part for me, which is super great about Chainstack. So yeah.
Okay, so the latest verdict is we are short of one guy to approve. Yeah, just one more, and we can commit this. So it's 50-50 now. I'm gonna try my luck. It will fail, but I'll still try my luck.
Pretty exciting, guys, on how we're trying to work in this decentralized thing, which is the latest feature of Hyperledger Fabric 2. So chocolates or deleting your nodes all work. It's pretty cool.
Also, I want to thank you guys for being understanding. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but that's the part I think that is the most interesting about decentralization. There is really a proper merge between so many fields, but you cannot really take away the human side of it. So it's not just technology, but it's technologically enforced trust, and you have to have people on board. There is no way of overcoming the fact that you actually need consensus in a distributed way. Whether that's a public network or that's a permission network, it is still about distribution of decision-making in that sense. So that's a real life application of how that's enforced. There is no way around it. Once we code the type of consensus that we want, then it has to be executed. And even if you are the originator of the network and you are the initiator of a private and permissioned decentralized network, you still don't have the power to overrule or bypass the consensus from all the members within your consortium. So that's quite nice. I've seen some of the comments talking about blockchain in action and why that's cool. And there are the drawbacks, of course, of not having enough people or having dissent. I think here it's mostly on a technical basis of the part that some of the people have walked out of the webinar without removing their node, or maybe they have signed up for the node before the webinar and then they couldn't make it because believe that we all like. Another comment that I've seen, everyone loves free money. This is theoretically the case in this use case. Yes, I can see that across the chats, we do have some error silk up happening for some of our attendees. But we're working on it. And I like how Thomas is always passionate and always bringing out a smile, even if there are bumps on the ride.
So if anyone wants to sacrifice themselves for the sake of this demo, and they haven't been able to set up the application, then yeah, if you do delete your node, then your organization will be removed from the network, and you will no longer be required to meet consensus. So that is something that would help us progress, if you don't mind and not reaching finality, let's say, with the rest of us.
So to clarify, you're asking for one person to sacrifice themselves.
I offered to share my portion of the freedom dividend with whoever sacrifices themselves.
Okay, let's stop deleting nodes. I can see so many people deleting nodes. It's enough.
To add on to what Jona is saying, please only sacrifice yourself if you haven't approved. For those that approve, please stay for the greater good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good point. This is a good point.
Okay, I can see a number of nodes that have been deleted. Guillaume, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 have stepped down. How are we doing, Guillaume, Thomas, and Jona now?
Yeah, so Guillaume is here. Do you want to comment? So be patient. Once you delete a node, it doesn't just magically get removed from the network. You have to give it some time because we are dealing with a blockchain right here. So it's not as fast as like pressing a button on a phone and then it call and happens right away. Be patient. But thank you for sacrificing. Thank you, guys. We should be able to commit this chain code soon.
And yeah, to the question as well, if anyone has issues now, you will also be able to redeploy your node later in your own time and connect to the network, and then also engage. It's just for us to come to agreement in the channel to make this, to actually instantiate the code and commit the code to the channel, the chain code to the channel. At a later date, if you come in and install it on your peer, you'll be able to then communicate with everyone as per usual.
Yeah, and I take this opportunity to say a big thank you to everyone who is taking part, and not just the Chainstack team, Adam, who is patiently there, but I know he's very keen to be the next one up and tell us, firsthand what it's going to be like to deploy it within a business environment and high stakes, I imagine, where the delivery will have, real life and real monetary impact to businesses, and how that, I would imagine there is a lot of added layers of complexities when it comes to, let's say, selling a decentralized network to a traditional business, such as Rolls-Royce. And the aviation industry in particular is extremely, it is, engineering focused and with great amount of innovation, but it's also extremely traditional, especially when it comes to security. So introducing new layers of security that are distributed, I would imagine, can become a big question mark.
Guys, I want to add here a little bit. So first of all, we are doing a little bit of extreme stuff here, because we're trying to build a network in 1 hour, and usually people are not doing this. So usually people are spending time to design the network, and maybe Adam will elaborate on this actually, because it's like building your new computer network. Nobody's like assembling a computer network for 1 hour. So I just want to highlight that you can go through the tutorial in your free time, anytime, and follow the steps. So we have quite clear documentation on the tutorial. We will send the link after the event for everybody who's interested, and you can do a self-paced pass through the tutorial, and you can build your own network and so on. So I highly recommend everybody to do this, especially if you have something that doesn't work on this extremely large network that we're currently building live. It has its limits, obviously. So I highly recommend everybody to do this in the free time.
Breaking news. we have finally come to consensus.
Wow.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have to thank a few heroes that are sacrificing themselves for the greater good. Yeah, now we all get freedom dividend every month. So guys, if you go back to the same screen, you should see this. Wow, this is a lot harder to come into consensus than I've imagined. But anyway, you should see that your chain code has been committed to the network. If you haven't seen this screen, can you please put it into the chat? Again, our very helpful engineers will be there to assist you. So if you see this screen, can you please type yes? It would be awesome if I see yes coming in. All right, also I see a lot of yes, great. So now let's access the chain code right here. I am going to, so to talk a little bit about this, a little bit about this is that the front end on this form is built automatically based on the chain code that was installed. So you see these buttons, these are all automatically generated based on the contract for the chain on the chain code. So if you were to create a chain code with 4 functions, 5 functions, or even less, the form will be built according to your chain code. So no hard coding here. So I'm going to opt in now. I will opt in using my email. And in my argument, I will put something something nice like random random description. Right? I'll click on the opt-in. So right now, I'm using the front end to execute the function on the chain code. Yeah. Can you guys try this also and see what happens?
So the network is deployed worldwide.
Sorry?
The network is deployed worldwide.
The network is deployed worldwide. Yeah, again, I'd like to emphasize that today's tutorial of Bootcamp is a really bold idea of us building the biggest consensus in the world, a consortium network in the world in the shortest time frame. So that has proven to be a little bit risky, but we won't give up on this. We will continue to improve ourselves until the time comes when we can deploy 30 nodes and within an hour and have them work together, because we are the fastest.
So, okay, what exactly is the issue here, Thomas? Do you know? It worked on our dry run yesterday, so it seems we have some errors opting in.
So the issue is that we have too many nodes in the network, and when they try to come into consensus, it takes a lot more time. It's like n to the power of the number of nodes. So this has exceeded the time, the request time. If I put in the max buffer, give me a moment. Let me try something.
Okay, so maybe we can take a few seconds to go back to Adam. I know we were just getting a little bit started on the aerospace industry and your work.
Sure, yeah. You want me to kind of kick it off? No.
Just give an appetizer while we are busy troubleshooting.
Sure. Yeah. So the things that we're seeing right now, this is I have to say, this is extremely ambitious. Yeah. So the things that we're doing, that you're dealing with right now, are things that we deal with all the time in building these kinds of networks. So the fact that there are people like you guys, Chainstack, that are trying to address this for everyone else is a very big service. Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, and we look forward to hear more in detail later when you are actually going to explain everything about block Aero and the solution that you do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I actually didn't start on my node. I kind of sat back a little bit on that. I guess that was my bad. Could have given a nice +1 to the node count, but
it's okay. Okay, as you can see, the guys are coding. I can see work is happening in the background.
Alex, maybe we could go to Adam's part of the presentation, and we can check back in at the end, maybe, to see,
yeah, why
if
not?
we can do the final step to opt into the chain code.
Yeah.
Thing.
Let's keep the schedule right on time. I think we were scheduled for 4 p.m. with Adam. So without further ado, let's just go and get into it. Adam, the floor is all yours.
all right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, so just I guess you can jump in whenever you like if there's some big news on the workshop side. But yeah, I can kick it off. So yeah, first of all, thank you Chainstack for putting this on. This is a a great event to kind of build the enthusiasm for the community, and this is one of the things. The community itself is one of the things that really drove us towards Hyperledger in the first place. So let me go ahead and start my presentation. Just a moment. Okay. So share. I'm sure this will work flawlessly. Okay. Does everyone see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Great. Okay. So yeah. So my name is Adam Siena. I'm the CTO of Aero. We are a software startup that has taken on the task of trying to solve a pretty big problem within the aviation industry. And what I'd like to do is kind of outline a few things here, which is first thing to give a little brief introduction of what is the aviation industry, what we're trying to address, like the use case, and then go on to the solution that we're proposing with some details. And the third part would be a little bit of a live demo, not nearly as ambitious as the previous one, but maybe a little taste with some explanation. So yeah, so what we're trying to do here is essentially take an industry that is decades old at this point, a highly regulated industry that requires its organizations that participate to adhere to a very high degree of regulatory compliance. So these companies, which would be the ones that like airlines and big OEMs like Rolls-Royce and Boeing, but the industry is much larger than that. There are MRO shops, repair shops, financiers, lessors, logistics, regulators. Yeah, so it's a very diverse industry. And what they have right now is a system, well, a lot of different systems that don't communicate very well and have a lot of friction when it comes time to communicate with each other. So what we're trying to do is build a network that brings all these organizations together and networks them in a way that they can communicate in a much more fluid fashion. So, right, so our platform does intend to address this problem here where we have aviation assets, so things like airplanes and engines and landing gear and fan blades, all of these different components. They each individually require a lot of documentation in order to ensure that they're ready to fly. So you can think of it a lot like a car. So you have when you get a car, you have a lot of information that you're going to get with that vehicle, and it's going to be required to be maintained to a certain degree depending on your regulatory environment. Some people have exhaust or tailpipe exhaust maintenance they need to do, or regulations that they need to adhere to. So all this information generally gets collected in a lot of different ways, and a lot of it right now is in the form of a PDF that one organization will just email to another organization, and then someone will have to sit at a computer and type that all in. And so there's a lot of errors that can creep in, and this costs all these different organizations a lot of money in the long run. So with our initial idea and platform, we went and performed a proof of concept with a consortium in the Middle East, in the UAE. We were lucky enough to be selected as their technology partner and give this this technology a try. And so since then, we have really built a lot more of the functionality that you'll see in a few minutes to address this use case. But we were able to prove that this is actually something that's quite valuable. So the use case that we're focusing on first is the use case of MRO, and that refers to the maintenance, repair, and overhaul of assets. So things like engines, aircraft. Specifically, we're focusing on the engines. So yeah, let's go into the actual. One second. Okay, there we go. Right. So what is an MRO life cycle? So basically, when an engine is manufactured, it's manufactured with a specific set of guidelines for how it should be maintained. Again, this is similar to how car manufacturers have a maintenance plan for their vehicles, except that aircraft engines cost tens of millions of dollars and need to be maintained at a much higher level. So right, so while there's always some exceptions to this process, it's fairly standardized, actually. During this process, an engine is removed from its aircraft. A plan is made to repair the engine. It's actually physically repaired. It's inspected and then released for service. So, like I said, this can vary from engine to engine and from shop to shop, but this is generally the plan. Right. So all these different organizations. So there, for this example, we have regulators, manufacturers, OEMs, MROs, airlines, lessors, and suppliers. So they all participate in some degree in this process. And when they need to communicate with each other, like I said, it's traditionally in the form of a printed out PDF that they have to email from one organization to the other. And there's no guarantee that the information is going to jive when it actually gets to that other organization. So what we think is a good solution here would be blockchain. This seems like the perfect tool to solve a lot of these problems that these organizations are experiencing. What we can do is ensure that all the parties involved within a transaction are all looking at the same data, and we can enforce that data to be standardized in an accepted format where possible, and we can capture the identities of the individuals involved in reviewing, approving, submitting all of this information, and ensure that none of the data has been corrupted or tampered with since it was provided. All right, so the solution. So blockchain, right? This is the thing that can provide all of those things that I just mentioned. So when we set out to build the solution, we considered a bunch of different options. A lot of them were mentioned already, from Ethereum and all of its forks, Corda, Hyperledger and all of its products like Sawtooth and Fabric. I won't go into all the details of them. They've been discussed already, but I'll just give you the highlights of the things that really let us, led us down the road of going with Fabric. So we knew that the nature of the industry that we were working in was highly regulated. So this is, this is something that we needed to conform to as well, which requires a very strong identity management. So all of the individuals that are participating in this network must be well known, have specific certifications, we also knew that we wanted to keep a persistent and common, publicly available within the network, a set of data that could be used as an anchor for all the other private information that would be provided to the network by the different organizations. So not only having a common public ledger, but also a private set of information. And of course, we wanted to make sure that any kind of framework that we'd be working with had a good long-term health outlook, good roadmap, good feature set, and that's exactly what Hyperledger Fabric brought to the table. There's as you can see in the chart that they showed earlier, Hyperledger is the activity. It's hard to measure the actual activity within a framework or surrounding it. You kind of have it's a little bit of a gut feel, but there are some metrics that you can collect when it comes to commits, but or forum posts or what have you. But the science isn't exact. So Hyperledger definitely has a lot of information that you can glean. It's very well documented, and the community seems very active. So let's go to the next one. Right, so what do we actually want to build? So what we wanted to build was a blockchain-based framework or platform. But this is not the only part of the platform, right? So we'll get into some of the details of the other components in a little bit, but some of the high-level features that we're looking for are the things I mentioned earlier with the common source of truth, private data sets and collections that could be shared, and an easy-to-use UI that people could immediately understand. And this last point is critical and often overlooked in the SaaS industry. We didn't want people to feel the weight of the complexity that blockchain inherently brings with it. We knew that'd be a deal breaker for a lot of organizations, and we wanted to avoid it at all costs. So that's essentially what we built. The platform is easy to use as any other platform that you can you have on the web. You go to your URL, you log in with your username and password, and the functionality that invokes chain code here is built behind this UI that could be easily understood and doesn't require anyone to actually understand that there's a blockchain at all. So doing all these things kind of helps us realize the benefits that we believe we can bring to this industry. All right. Right, and so we can't, build the system just for the user interface. We also have to interact with, a lot of these underlying systems. So, like I mentioned, these organizations will usually have a lot of, of their own corporate systems, ERP systems. If they do, some will just have, file systems where they just keep, folders of PDFs or Excel sheets. But for the more, advanced organizations, we do encourage them to use our APIs, where we can integrate with their existing systems and kind of take that human element out as much as possible. Right. All right. So get to the fun part here. So how you guys doing back there?
It's so good. It seems to have a question from the audience. It's asking, is it a hybrid cloud or totally cloud solution?
Right. Yes. So hybrid cloud. Yes. So this is actually something that we are piloting right now with Rolls-Royce, is the hybrid cloud solution. So on-premise is definitely something that that our customers will demand, certain customers, not all of them. So this is something that we work with, and can get into some more details about that as well, if you'd like.
Awesome.
Anything else, or?
Not for now.
Okay. Right. So, all right. So this is the fun part. So, got my notes here. Keep me on track. Right. So this is the general architecture of the solution, with its with the software stack linked to its the underlying architecture, physical infrastructure. Right. So for us, we have the front end here, which is and middle tier, which acts as the basically exposing it to the functionality to the internet, to the organizations that are part of the network. It supports the identity management, off-chain state management, open API, as well as the user interface. And it also functions to connect into the platform, the AI and document processing pipeline. So we have implemented some AI functionality as well with some of the document processing that we do. We use this to assist the users in classification and extraction of certain documents. This is kind of an add-on convenience for people and which is something that we're going to be enhancing in the future, but it's probably not the subject of today's workshop, as interesting as it may be. So the front end middle tier acts as the tenancy separator between the different organizations in terms of its off-chain state management. And then the blockchain is essentially the interorganizational state management tool. So how this works is the organizations are, when they come on board, they have a tenant created for them in the UI. This is hooked up into, and the components for their access to their blockchain, their portion of the blockchain network is spun up as well. So this is actually where a lot of the complexity comes in. So the other components are fairly traditional and can scale in the traditional way, whereas the blockchain is a bit different, and the different kinds of components that are needed to actually make it function are fairly different, right? As well as the requirements around them. So like it was just mentioned, a hybrid cloud, where we're going to have organizations with special requirements for data privacy or data storage, whether it's at rest or in transit. We can, we can accommodate those requirements. So, right, this is the portion that really takes a lot to manage in the long run. So as you can see, we only have 3 organizations in this example, but you can imagine as you get more, this portion really starts to blow up, and not only does it increase the costs of of us in terms of money, but also in terms of management, operations, and we realized after a while that this is something that would really become quite a large cost. And what we would need to do is actually dedicate an entire team to managing this whole process, right? So, so we knew that there was a problem, and we started looking for solutions in the form of managed services. Now there's a lot of big guys that have tried it, and you know, your AWS, your Azure, Oracle, IBM, and almost all of them, for one reason or another, have fallen behind in some way, whether it's the version of Fabric that they're using or some, you know, some features. You know, it's not very easy to stay up to date with all of this, right? And so you know, we see Chainstack as a perfect example of what we're looking for. It's you know, a startup that's built specifically to address this problem and fully dedicated to solving it. Right? So we are looking for a lot of these you know, these kinds of solutions, right? Okay. So another thing that we've investigated is the well, a problem that we've come to realize is the case is what we just experienced actually, which is the oversaturation of peers. So the aviation industry we recognize is a very large you know, industry with a lot of different players. Some of them don't need to have the kind of dedicated infrastructure or data privacy, you know, very strict data privacy tenancy policies as everyone else, and simply want to participate in a transaction as a supplier or as a, you know, a small component MRO shop or something like this, where they just need to provide a couple of documents in order to complete a transaction for you know, maybe a larger participant. So we are working on this. We are investigating this kind of shared infrastructure concept, and it's pretty interesting actually. And what we're trying to do is essentially, what we'll need to do is essentially build on top of the normal peer MSP private data collection separation mechanism, another access control mechanism to separate the essentially create tenancy within a single peer to support this kind of shared infrastructure. We think this is fairly valuable, while still providing the kind of you know, identity links and all the other benefits of using a, you know, blockchain network. All right. So yeah, I think that's a fairly good introduction. I can go hop into the demo right now. How am I doing on time, actually? All right, I actually went over quite a bit. Sorry about that. Yeah, so how are we looking?
It's so good. I think I have one more question from our very keen attendees. They're asking, does the app include AI as well?
Yeah, it does actually. It includes a, so as part of the documents processing, we have this mechanism to break down. Maybe I can just go back to the, right. So yeah. So on the left side here, you can see just where this is kind of diagrammed. So what we built is a fairly straightforward document processing mechanism, which takes a PDF, splits it apart, extracts via OCR the data on that document on each page, classifies each page, and attempts, depending on the classification, attempts to extract certain values out of it. So this would be a named entity recognition extraction.
Okay, That's awesome. I hope that Ramakrishna is okay with the answer. If not, please do come back with a follow-up if you're helpful. So Adam, I'm keen to see the demo, and there is a follow-up question. Does AI integrate with blockchain, or it's handled by middleware? We're getting quite deep into it here.
Yeah. So it's. Okay, just to make sure I understand the question, it's not built into the chain code. So it is, it's part of the client. You can consider it from the blockchain's perspective. It's part of the client, and we can consider this off-chain data. So what we do is we take the document, we process it, we extract all the information, and then we stage it. We put it in a staging place for the user to review, to correct mistakes, since it's not perfect. And then the user will be responsible for that information and push this.
Okay, one more question is flying out for you from Kashun. How is data security handled here?
How is data security handled?
That's feels like a deep question.
in a lot of different ways. So let's start from the blockchain side. So the blockchain is essentially the state management for the entire system. We are using the private collections mechanism to protect the clear text data of organizations. So when an organization wants to push some data and it's not public, it just goes into a private collection that only that organization or its specific peers or other organizations that it specifies only has access to. And on the document side, that object that is stored in clear text actually also stores the credentials to access that document off chain as well, so that when I have access to this document, I also have access to the whatever PDF or image that I have access to in that regard.
Alex, I think you're on mute still.
That's fair. I tend to chat a lot, even by myself. That's not a good sign. Sorry, guys. Adam, I would be absolutely thrilled to hear more about the platform and have a little demo. Can we give it like 3 minutes? I know it would be like a flying bird, very fast, but if you can then afterwards give us details of how we can access more information about the platform, that would be great. I know that the team, Thomas, Eugene, Jona, and the rest of the team have been working in the background, and I have an update as well. So let's hold on,
should I go?
Everyone. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, this one. All right. Okay, make sure that we're still connected. Okay, so this is the platform. Right, you can log into it like any other web, websites. You got your username and password. So I was going to go into deep detail. Should I go into the okay, 3 minutes, right?
3 minutes.
Quick. Okay, quick. All right, so I log into the platform. So the first thing that you can see is that the platform is, the data model is very asset centric. So assets, we consider these to be like a tier 1 object within the platform. These contain information and basically that are one of the primary things. You can consider it like a root object. There's a lot of information that's attached to these in the form of properties, events, documents, compliance, records. So these are other records as well, configuration records. Okay, so assets are pretty big, and they can come in the form of engines, parts, airplanes. a lot of good stuff. And so another, right, let me go ahead and register something real quick. So this is how you create assets. What I did was I just uploaded a spreadsheet. It contains some, test information here. And what I'm doing is I'm assigning myself as the operator and org2 as the owner. Okay, cool. Sounds good. I've just pushed, I just invoked a create assets function on the blockchain. I've created my asset. And so transactions, okay. So transactions are essentially workflows in the traditional sense. You design them before you, ahead of time, and you invoke them with your business partners. So this would be like a multi-organizational, inter-organizational workflow, where I, as organization one, can go and submit some information. Say I want to upload my presentation to this particular requirement. Okay, so I've attached this data. This data is stored off-chain with a reference, like I mentioned earlier, to its location. And I'm taking that and I'm storing it to the state of this transaction on the blockchain. I can enter some other form data as well. Save it, submit it. Okay. Okay, and what I've done is I've just locked this workflow item. I can then continue to do the other actions that I need in order to complete this particular stage of the workflow by reviewing it and approving it. And eventually, when it gets to the final state here, I'm going to approve this requirement. It comes down here, and it's good to go. So what we've done is we've just approved this this QEC shop visit report. Yeah, and everything I've done is logged, and not only for this requirement, but for the entire transaction, from the very beginning to the very end. Everything is logged. I can go and check out everything that I've done before. This was something I did earlier. Yeah, so I requested that someone resubmit this this requirement. Okay, great. History, it's all there. Yeah, yeah, and without going into too much detail, there you have it. Everything here is backed by like I said, all these functions here where I'm submitting, where I'm approving, where I'm signing things. All of it is essentially just invoking blockchain chain code functions, and we're using the blockchain to store the state of this entire transaction and all of its history.
That's fantastic, Adam.
Cool.
And it's great to see that. And I know it sounds a bit odd, but the early days of blockchain, we were looking for very big, explosions of innovation and disruption in a way that was absolutely, absolutely disruptive. But we're seeing that, slowly the industry is innovating within existing businesses. So it's incremental innovation. And that's, I think, it's a primary example that one that you're just showing us, where there are high stakes. The entire supply chain for in aviation has to be absolutely tracked. There is a precision that needs to go into it, and a need for auditability to the last maintenance record, from the last nails that are used. Everything really needs to be tracked. So glad to see, and really exciting to see that your solution, hopefully will transform the entire industry bit by bit. But it's a great to start, and I think the entire blockchain industry is behind you, to hold the torch and really bring forward innovation to enterprise. So thank you very much for that, Adam.
No problem. And I just want to add one more thing, is that we are also looking for any motivated developers that want to come join, please feel free to contact me. We're always happy to talk to people who would like to help build this thing.
Awesome. The team is awesome, guys. If you're looking to join a team, Adam, Todd, and the rest of the team are absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's bring it back to our very interesting experiment. I can see a lot of smiles on Thomas' face, even though he's very dutifully now wearing the mask. So Thomas, what's going on?
Hi, Alex. So Guillaume will be taking over the explanation because it's too technical even for myself. So Guillaume will take over.
So yeah, when we are checking, like it looks like because of the size of this network, all these peers, they communicate using GOSI protocol, and the network is so big, and a lot of timeouts happen because we are spread around the world, and it looks like the gossip is not very stable. And when you look at logs of all the peers, they all report, okay, this not disappear all the time. And when we try to commit some of the some of the chain code, they can never discover all the peers they need to discover to reach consensus, because we need a majority of 13 or 14. And that's quite a lot of peer actually to reach at once. And if they cannot reach that number of peer, they will just okay, I cannot reach the endorsement required for this network, so they will just drop it. So instead, if you want, we can show you an example of on a smaller. Let me show. Yeah, on a smaller network that we created. We created when we prepared this bootcamp. So it's a much smaller network on only 3 peers, but everything else is the same. We did the endorsement and all. So if I go up, here, we can see my organization. We can see the same chain code has been here. I can access this chain code, and if I put, like, let's say user 3, let's say I give you 400, you can see hopefully, yeah, this time the chain code invoked. So if I query this user 3. Using that chain code, I should get my 400, and I put some more user previously, and it worked. And if the 2 other organizations in my network, they can also use that chain code. And so yeah, that's much low scale demo, but yeah, under the hood is the same.
Yeah. So so to conclude, we have never really tested the chain code or running a network of this size before, because to us, it really doesn't make sense to have a network of 30 nodes while we are doing our testing. So today we have a network of 30 nodes. I think that is quite an achievement in my opinion. We have one of the largest consortium deployed in the shortest time. Maybe next time we can try for a bigger size one. And a stable one, but we have identified some issues, and we will be working on it. But then again, thank you everybody for joining, and I hope that through the interface you can really learn the process of dealing with Hyperledger Fabric, and hopefully spark your interest to use Hyperledger Fabric, and maybe you can even start writing some chain codes and play around with it. Yeah. So thank you for your participation. We made history today, although we kind of would like it to be a little bit better, but we will definitely work on this. And yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That's great, Thomas. And I think that's what engineering made life looks like. That's why very few people go and try and attempt it. But as usual, the learning comes from the hiccups as much as it comes from something that is running smoothly. Is always on troubleshooting and learning from what can go wrong before it actually goes. This is a safe setting, and I hope that this has been a great opportunity for everyone to learn and to see what it actually means, like to be, to look under the hood, be part of, the repair engineers that go inside and try to fix and try to deploy the nodes. If that's been the first time that you have deployed a node as part of a consortium, I hope this has been meaningful and a growth opportunity for everyone. Definitely has been for the Chainstack team. This is probably the first one of a series of similar webinars that we want to bring. This first one, it's a great hospitality from the Singapore Blockchain Week for us, and especially for Hyperledger and Fabric. As first experiment, I think we, as a small preview, we're probably going to test the waters on other protocols very soon. We will be announcing, so keep in touch. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do so that you will be the first ones to know on the next opportunities like this one, to go ahead and get their hands dirty together with us and deploying something that is cutting edge and explorative. Cool. I think the last part that is missing for us, and I know it's been a long ride, it's 2 hours and 41 minutes. It's been quite intense, but we've still got one last hurdle, and that's the quiz. And please don't take that too seriously, but it's still part of our attempt to get the certification through. I know that all the engineering team will get stuck in and tried it as well. Only few of them have seen it. So let me see. There should be a link. Jona, perhaps you can give me a head on that. 1 second. Let me find the link to the quiz, and then if you can go, we're going to allow ourselves 10 minutes to take it. There you go. I'm going to post the link on the chat. 1 second. It's very, there you go. So please go ahead. Please don't forget to share your contact, your name and email address as part of the quiz. Otherwise, we will not know where to send the certificate to. It's also a way for us to deliver the chocolate that we've promised. If you agree to it, it's still part of the deal. So I would say we are now at 16:43. At 16:53, we will reconvene again. And I will check in the meantime how the submissions are going. After that, we will be like a last round and farewell. And I hope to see you all back in 10 minutes. How is everyone doing? I hope I've received quite a few submissions already. You can also take your time. Let's agree. We're friends now. It's okay. If you want to take this test a little bit later, it's okay. Do so at your own time. I will leave it open until midnight today, so that everyone will get the chance to fill it in and do their best shot and see. I hope it wasn't too hard. If you have any questions about the question themselves, do reach out and we're happy to explain and to give more context about them. I have 2 more minutes to go for the test. If you're happy, guys, we can go ahead. Otherwise, I will leave another 2 minutes and be precisely on the dot for the 10 minutes. Let me know, raise your hand. Okay,
we got a question about when is the cutoff for completing the quiz? Must it be done now, or can people do it later? Or?
Let's leave it open till midnight today, Singapore time. So it's a few hours still. So no rush to go through it. In a few minutes. We have seen that rushing through things has benefits, has glory, but it also some downfalls. So that's a good thing. If there was one lesson learned today, is that it's definitely fun. Great. So just a big wrap up and a big round of virtual applauses to everyone who's taken part. I hope you had good fun. We definitely had the team here. I can see blood, sweat, and tears when it comes to engineering, deploying, and blockchain in general. But that's part of what makes it really valuable as well. So shall I start, from the back forward, the other way around as opposed to the beginning? So Adam, 30 seconds, 1 minute to say farewell and next steps for everyone who wants to get in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, thanks for putting this on. This is a very bold workshop to do for sure. I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be involved. And if anyone does want to contact me, feel free to send me an email or go to block.aero. All my contact information is up there. You can take a look at what we're doing and get in touch. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thomas, on behalf of Guillaume, Egg, the rest of the engineering team.
Hi, again, thank you guys for joining today's very, very exciting project of running the biggest consortium in the least amount of time. I want to emphasize that the reason the network didn't run as we expected is because of the simultaneous effort to create nodes at the same time. Yeah, we did some digging, and I'm sure if we were to spread out the deployment in a more evenly fashion, maybe with a few minutes interval, it will be a lot more stable. So the next session of such a bold idea will definitely be stable. This is something where we are committed to be working on. And I want to thank everybody again for participating, so we can actually find these errors and fix them. Not errors, these hiccups, and we can overcome them. Yeah, Guillaume, you have anything to add?
Guillaume is happy that it's finished. It's all done. Jona, what about from you?
Yeah, thanks everyone. I think it was a really exciting experiment to do today, and it's great to do such a thing live and see the network kind of evolving before our eyes. We were all very interested to see people deploying nodes yesterday and day before yesterday, and seeing our consortium being built up in different regions and different places around the world. So yeah, generally great experience, and feel free to reach out to any of us after the fact if you have any questions generally about Chainstack, about the product, how we manage nodes, how we orchestrate our infrastructure, about Fabric, Corda, Ethereum, and all the other protocols that were mentioned today. We always love to speak to the community and to hear from people who use our product and to get feedback from them. So yeah, big thanks to everyone for participating.
Awesome. And before I get to Eugene, I just want to stop by Ake, who has been manning the Q&A. I know there have been quite a lot of tough and interesting questions. I don't know that you enjoyed it particularly, Ike. So where can people find more knowledge from Chainstack, and how can they contact you if that's the case?
Well, yes, guys, I advise you to just paste the link to do the Chainstack tutorials, and we also have a knowledge base that we're putting together, available at chainstack.com. We're continuously updating all the knowledge and all the blockchains that we support. And for me personally, this is a big thing, because like a few years back, I wouldn't even imagine that running your own blockchain infrastructure and protocol or network would be just, you know, doing a few clicks in there to get you started, and then you can go through tutorials. So I would advise anyone who's looking to explore other protocols as well, and Hyperledger Fabric protocol, to go through our documentation and tutorials and everything, and just see for yourself how early all of you guys just by joining this webinar are in the blockchain space, especially for the enterprise protocols, and how easy it's becoming by day. And so yeah, and knowledge is a good thing. So you're really there. So yeah. And yeah, it was also exciting to be a part of this experiment. It was really cool. So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ike. And Eugene, for the biggest wrap up.
Guys, all participants, thank you very much for your time today. I think it was great experience. To me, it was awesome experience. I like the energy of you. I like that you basically are with us until now. It's not a short event, and we did a lot of things, and we tried a lot of things, and we are very excited to have you. Again, this is the first time we try to build a network within 1 hour with this size. So it's quite cool that it worked, at least a part of it. And we obviously will do a post-mortem, and we'll find all the small things that didn't allow us to complete it until the end, and we're going to work on it within the next weeks. So thank you very much for this epic event, truly epic event, and we are looking forward to see you in Chainstack. As Ike briefly mentioned, we have a lot of other protocols for you to try, and we have a lot of docs and tutorials around these protocols. Starting basically all the protocols that I mentioned in the beginning, you can try on Chainstack today. They are available for you. The tutorials are available, so feel free to come, experiment, and let us know if you have any issues. You can write us in Gitter. You can talk to us via support channels. We're very responsive, and we're happy to see more blockchain builders here. Thank you very much, guys. It was awesome.
That's amazing. So a big thank you and wrap up for me. The certificate will be on your way after tomorrow. And yeah, do try this out. I mean, today you had, you know, the first taster. If you didn't have, if you were just, you know, looking through the lenses of the observers, that's absolutely fine. But you want to get started, Siena is not impossible. What we will do also, you know, Eugene mentioned a postmortem and lesson learned. We will publish a blog over the next week or so, where we will have a nice wrap up of what went right, what went wrong, and I hope to see you guys active through social media and the rest of our channel to continue the journey together on to the next step. So thank you, everyone. I think this is it for us. You take care, have fun, keep safe, and I will see you the next event. Take care.
Thank you, Alex. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.